Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today got the first build of 0.8.3, and we're going to be doing the Javelin Throw Paladin. With this, a lot of lightning damage. We went lightning conversion. We're going to have the lightning spears that proc on a lightning hit, and every time that Javelin is used, you're going to do a lot of damage with it. We're stacking a lot of damage, a couple of uniques that are making it do a lot of damage. They're uniques from previous patches, so you probably already have them. This is foe's version of it, and we're going to be using a polearm to get that added damage effectiveness off of it. We're also going to be using it for crit chance, and then on top of all of that, we're going to have a lot of added damage, and then we're going to synergize this with a couple of other skills. We're going to have Javelin proc smites. We're going to have Lunge that will proc smite and proc Javelin for you. And then, of course, we have the idols where on throwing hit that proc smite. So we're going to have lots of smites coming down, which is going to give us attack speed and stuff. We're going to do really good damage. And the further away we are from enemies, the more damage that we can do to them. And overall, it's really fun to play. It's kind of a speedrunner through the echoes because of how far you can throw it and how quick it is. And you can just kind of keep moving forward. There are two versions of this I like to play. I also like to play it with the 3 javelins coming down from the sky. The mana cost is a little higher, but it does allow you to hit and clear really, really fast. Now, there's nothing super fancy about this build. I don't have any plus levels to Javelin. I don't have the affix on the helm to add Javelin flat damage. So there's nothing special about this build. There's no special rare affixes or anything like that. So don't worry about not having those yet. And what that also means is there's a lot more min-maxing you can do with this. There's no exalted gear. Like I said, we are running a couple uniques, but we'll go over that in the gear section. But overall, very easy to put together, and it is really devastating in the end game. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills, the interactions, and just how it all works. For skills, I'm running Lunge, Smite, Javelin, Holy Aura, and Sigils of Hope. For Lunge, whole new skill tree. Haven't done a discussion on it yet, but we will get there. The setup with this is to cast Smite, to cast Javelin for you, to still be invulnerable, and to have 100% block chance while we are lunging. We'll also have a charge set up on it. We got 1 point in Warrior's Renewal, 2 points in Ambuscade, and 1 point in Double Strike so that we can have an additional lunge charge, and this also increases the cooldown length by 15%. We've got 2 points in Initiate's Onslaught, which means that the final hit of Lunge can do more maximum damage and hit in a bigger area. We got 1 point in Art of the Spear, so we have an extended area with Polearm, which we are using. 1 point in Deadly Stab, so the base crit chance with Polearm is higher. And 1 point in Pilum Assault, so that we will use Javelin after our Lunge. It will cost the mana cost that Javelin cost. 1 point in Cool the Weak for some kill threshold. 4 points in Holy Incursion, so there's a 100% chance to proc Smite or cast Smite on the final hit to up to 3 nearby targets based on how far we travel. So the farther you travel, the more smites that will come down. Then we got 1 point in Dawn Charge, 4 points in Juggernaut Dash for 100% block chance while lunging, and 1 point in Unstoppable so that we are invulnerable while lunging. For Smite, this skill tree has also changed, but a lot of the nodes are pretty similar. The layout's just kind of a little bit different. We got it set up with 1 point in Holy Wave, 3 points in Soothing Balm, 1 point in Grace, 3 points in Righteous Fury, 4 points in Righteous Flurries for that attack speed. That's really all we're after. 1 point in Blinding Flash, 2 points in Piety, 1 point in Order of Lagan, 1 point in Unbalanced Scale, and 3 points in Wandering Bolts. Now, right now I do not have the blessing of leeching throwing damage, so our health is really dependent upon health regeneration, so make sure you run Rhea and you get that blessing. I haven't done it yet. Because of that, I don't want to consume any of my health, but once we get a lot of leech back, because we're hitting really hard with Javelin, and we can keep our life full at all times due to leech, which we just don't have right now, then you can convert this into doing much more damage. For Javelin, new skill, we have this set up to split into the lightning. So it's all lightning damage, kind of kept the cost a little low, and we can spam it basically as much as we want. We'll do more damage the further away enemies are, and it's got a ton of lightning critical strike multiplier. So we got 1 point in Go for the Legs, 4 points in Keen Lookout, so Javelin will deal up to 80% more damage depending on how far targets are away from you. 1 point in Forceful Horror, so that we have physical and lightning penetration. In our case, we want the lightning penetration. You do have to stand still in order to get that penetration, which is fine. You can stand still, then throw the javelin. 1 point in strategic patience for 50% more damage. This does reduce your attack speed. 1 point in mighty delivery for more damage and attack speed. 5 points in holy spears, so that we've added 40 throwing lightning damage to the attack. 4 points in monster piercer, so that we do 120% more damage to high health mobs. So we're going to get in some really big hits right off the bat. 1 point in divine throws to convert it all to lightning. 1 point in purify lightning for that electrify chance and effect, and then 1 point in divine fury, so that javelin no longer pierces, but it does split off with 2 more lightning spears when you hit a target. Increase the mana cost a little, but allows for some good AoE. Now, the other way you can play it is take these 2 points out and put the points up here, 1 point in Burning Strength and then 1 point in Siege Barrage, and have 3 javelins rain down where you target. This does increase the mana cost quite a bit more, but it feels really good to play with it because you're getting lots of hits in a small area. Either way is totally viable. For Holy Aura, we have this set up with 2 points in Vital Boon, 1 point in Purification, 2 points in Call to Arms, 2 points in Fanatism, 4 points in Strength from Afar, 4 points in Expedite, and 5 points in Shelter from the Storm. For Sigils of Hope, we have this set up to just give us as much added damage and health regen as we can. All of that gets converted to lightning damage. We got 5 points in Empowering Sigil, so we have increased damage. 1 point in Last Wish, so it can summon on kill. 3 points in Decree of Flame, adds more base fire damage to attacks and spells. However, that's all converted to lightning for us. 4 points in Iron Sigils, 5 points in Enduring Hope, 1 point in Tetragram, and 1 point in Meditation. For passives, all of this is pretty much the same. Some things have changed a little bit. We got 20 points in the base Sentinel class with 8 points in Juggernaut, 7 points in Fearless, and 5 points in Armor Clad. 4 points in the Forge Guard, with all 4 of them in Weapons Mastered. 10 points in the Void Knight, all 10 points are in Abyssal Endurance for that health, void, and physical resist. And then 76 points in the Paladin, our Mastered class, with 8 points in Conviction, which gives lightning damage now, 8 points in Defiance, 1 point in Valor, 7 points in Holy Symbol, 10 points in Dedication, which gives us a lot of mana regen now, 8 points in Faith Armor, 10 points in Holy Precision, which did have its spell chance reduced from 300 to 200 at max, but we get 100% critical strike multiplier with lightning skills, so this makes Javelin hit much harder when converted to lightning. 12 points in Relevance of Duality, 12 points in Light of Rhea. Alright, for uniques, idols, blessings, and gear, we have 1x3 idols that can give you throwing critical strike multiplier. I believe you can also get armor shred chance on throwing attack. I believe you can get that on the 1x3s. You can get it on the 2x2s, where you have a chance to cast Smite with your Javelin. So I wear 2 of the 2x2s and 4 of the 1x3s. For uniques, we're wearing 2 uniques. They're not required, but they are going to definitely boost your damage. We have Laraka's Claws, which are going to give us up to 130% throwing critical strike multiplier. Again, that's going to boost your damage big time, but it's not necessary. We're also wearing the Morning Frost so that we get +1 damage to attacks and spells per point of dex. What that leads to is all of that's converted to added lightning damage for your Javelin. So it's added throwing lightning damage, which is huge. It's really going to boost your damage. For the rest of the gear, nothing special. Lots of dex everywhere that we can put it. We have increased throwing critical strike chance on the chest and helm. The helm is where you would put plus levels to Javelin, I believe. It's also where you would put the added flat damage for throwing Javelin. Either way, if you find those, definitely put them on there. Probably better than the increased throwing critical strike chance. It's already super high, so make sure if you get that to throw them on. Rest of this is pretty normal. Like I said, we're built pretty heavily into the health regen just so that we have good survivability at the moment, because we don't have any leech. You can't get leech on hit anymore on anything other than the 1 blessing for leech damage that you've done with throwing attacks, and that's from the Rhea timeline. So make sure that you get that blessing. That's what really pulls the build together at the end. And then for the blessings, just going to hover over them. Like I said, you want the percentage of throwing damage leeched as health. This is what's going to increase your survivability massively. Doesn't matter whether it's empowered or not, just get it and then work on the empowered version. The empowered version would obviously be best. I believe it rolls up to 5%. of that massive damage that you're doing with Javelin. And I'm just going to hover over the rest of these. They don't really matter, but of course, you know, you want your critical strike avoidance, you can get physical resist, you can get your endurance, all those things you can get in here, increased armor. Basically go for whatever you want. Shredding lightning resistance on hit is always nice, and then of course make sure you go for the throwing damage first. Alright, for the character sheet, as you can see, we have just over 2,300 health. We've capped down our fire and lightning. We are reduced on the cold and physical due to the boots. We've capped void. We have some poison, almost capped necrotic. Again, the gear that we have is not like perfectly ideal gear. I tried to fix it in the build planner, and I linked 𝐓𝐢𝐻's build planner so that it's more of the optimal setup. But for us, we haven't played enough to really have optimal gear at this point. But this build is very good, ready to go. You can definitely build upon it. We've got about 34% armor just sitting here, 5% dodge. We're not really building into dodge at all. And then for damage, you can see we have 277% critical strike multiplier global, as well as 229% lightning damage. For defense, we also almost have our critical strike avoidance capped. Make sure to cap that out. And then we almost have the endurance capped. When you do use the Holy Aura, that will be capped, and your elemental resist will also be capped. So you can have Holy Aura going off so that half the time or so you'll have capped elemental resist and endurance. And then the other thing that we have here is your damage is really going to get boosted by the Sigils of Hope. So to show you what we have here, if you look at the tooltip for Javelin, we have 22,210, which doesn't seem all that impressive, but it's got a lot of modifiers that aren't really taken into account by the Javelin, such as standing still and getting penetration and hitting a target far away. So attacking far away here, let's get our sigils out. That'll really boost our damage. And then we start attacking with Javelin from this distance. You can see we're hitting for 175,000. It's going to go much higher. We're already hitting for 200,000. And right here, you'll see we'll get some hits that are about 250,000 is about where we cap out being this far away. As long as you keep your sigils up. But you can get a couple 100,000 damage for hits, which is really good considering we don't have added lightning damage for Javelin on the helm. We don't have plus levels, which can give you more damage modifiers. I mean, 200,000 damage crits. That's really good. And it clears really well, as you can see from the gameplay. Now, when you lunge, that will also fire it. You'll notice we had all sorts of things happen there. We had multiple smites coming down. We had the Javelin hit, which then split out. And, of course, you are also going to be at 100% block. You are going to be invulnerable while lunging. And, of course, you have the multiple charges. So if you really wanted, you could do a double lunge like that and get, you know, 2 of your Javelins and all of that all in one go, which is really cool. If you run out of mana, you can switch your passives around a little bit to make it to where Smite is granting you mana. If you manually cast it, it'll have a chance to double cast if you switch the tree that way or do some extra damage with it. Don't have it set up that way. And then the last thing, like I said, in here, you can switch the points of Divine Flurry and Purifying Lightning into the Burning Strength and the Siege Barrage. And instead of throwing 1 Javelin at a time that splits, you'll have 3 Javelins come down at where you target, which is really cool, and it does really good damage. You can get 3 hits with it instead of just 1 hit on a target, which means your single target definitely goes up. The mana cost will be higher, though. Just remember that you won't be able to spam it non-stop. But it does work really well. It's playing that way as well, and I recommend trying both ways and seeing which one that you like more. Alright, that's going to be it for this build guide. As I play with this build more, after a few days, we have a lot of other stuff to do. We're definitely going to min-max it a bit more, play it on stream a bunch, get some better gear, really work on it, and see how far we can push it up the ladder. Alright, that's going to be it for this build guide. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, in the description will be the links to everything that you need. Loot filter, build planner, written guide. It's all down there. So make sure that you check it out. As always, stay safe and enjoy some gameplay.